Here I am, and today we're going to have a look at Zorin OS together. For those of you who don't know, Zorin OS is allegedly an alternative to Windows and Mac OS, but it's a Linux-based system. I'm not sure if they can really hold that promise and whether they can really pull so many users from Linux, from Mac OS and from Windows. But allegedly, somewhere they claimed I saw that 75% of Zorin OS users switched from Windows. So it seems to be the gateway system into the Linux world. And essentially, Zorin OS promises to be as intuitive as possible for for Windows and Mac OS users. I don't know how it can be intuitive for both Windows and Mac OS users at once, because when I, as a Windows user, use a Mac, I'm completely lost. I can't even figure out how to properly open applications and minimize and maximize stuff. And okay, forget about it. Zorin OS promises that everybody will have a great time, and it's an Office utility system, so they claim to be compatible with Microsoft Office, Word, PowerPoint, and all of that stuff. I'm not sure how they're going to do that, but let's have a look together. Okay, so this is the front page, well, the starting page. The first thing that comes up after starting the OS. Welcome to Zorin OS 18. Hi there, take the tour to learn your way around and discover essential features. Normally I skip the tour. Let's have a look and just click Start Tour and see what comes up and if it's something useful or not. Apparently, we have a menu to launch apps. That is right here. That is very, very similar to Windows. It's super similar to Windows. That's nice, because usually in Linux there's no such a thing. In Linux Mint there's such a thing. In Ubuntu I don't recall that. I think we have a bar on the side or top or bottom, and then we have to open apps from the specific grid menu. All right, okay, so they have included this launcher menu. Nice. We can choose a desktop look with a Zorin appearance. Okay, and there are different looks. The leftmost one looks like Mac OS. The middle one looks like Windows. I think that's the one that's active right now. And the right-hand one looks very similar, or looks, almost identical to Ubuntu. Let's launch this Zorin appearance thing. Let's have a look at what we can select here. So here we have, this is a, where do I put the windows? Anyways, okay. So we can choose layouts. Either this one, let's change it. Okay, now something changed. Did something change? I don't know. What about this? Oh, okay, and now the bottom bar changed, and if I click on show apps, then what happens? I get this view of the apps. So this launcher looks a bit different, and this is quite a neat overview of the apps that are already installed. I have installed Zorin OS Pro. There's also Zorin OS Core, which comes with, which is essentially the same. It just has it has fewer layouts as far as I know, and it does not come with all the apps pre-installed. But we have Maps here. That looks very similar to Google Maps, but I doubt it's Google Maps. We have a weather app, Audacity, Blender. Oh, okay, that's actually quite interesting. It seems, because for me, the pain point with most Linux systems is that installing software is somehow always a hassle. I mean, the first thing that I'm installing is usually, I don't know, Firefox or something like that. Then I install that, and then I go ahead and install Audacity. That's fine. Then I go ahead and install Steam. and that is fine. And then I go ahead and install some game in Steam, for example. And then there's already some dependency conflict between the packages, version conflicts. Yeah, not happy about that. There's always the details of the OS and the packages and libraries used, and they are exposed to you. And that's totally not the case in Windows most of the time, except very, very rarely where you have to download a DLL file from the web somewhere. And that happens once in 5 years for me, maybe. That happens when I download an old game, for example, GTA 4 or something like that, and some DLL is not compatible with it. All right, we have a drum machine. What's that drum machine? Is it like a music software? What is it? Where is it? Let's see. It's still loading. By the way, I don't have full computing power here because this is running in a virtual machine. So that's why it's probably faster on a real install. But I need my recording software to run on top of this, and I need to use the traditional, the recording software that I always use. Otherwise, this video has different quality. Let's see what this drum machine is gonna do. So we can place kicks here. That sounds horrible, but that's probably because of my virtual machine. And then we can create some beats here, but of course we don't need that. We actually want to have a look at the operating system and not at the drum beats software. Okay, easy effects, camera, calendar, press arrow. Is there anything that I recognize? GIMP. Eyedropper is for picking colors from the desktop, probably. Foliate. What's that? That's a book software. So here you can download. Can you download books here, or can you just read them? This is an ebook reader. That's nice. Okay, but before we diverge too much into checking out the individual apps, let's have a look at the other layouts. There's this one. Oh, and this one looks Mac-ish. I just don't know where the bottom bar went, because here there should be one. And then there are a couple of other. Oh, there it is. There it is. Okay, let's have a look at the... Wait. Okay, so this seems to be the Mac OS style layout. And this seems to be the Windows style layout. I personally prefer the Windows style layout. I acknowledge that the Mac style layout looks good. I'm just completely lost with it usually. All right, we can pick theme colors, and I think this is one of the points that Zorin OS frequently advertises. It's just that it looks good. So let's pick an accent. Now this is the accent color for the selected menu items here. But I actually like the blue a lot. What if we change to dark mode? Dark mode is very important. Oh, that looks nice. And it's a nice gimmick that it changed the background to a nightly background. As you can see, we have this nightly mountains landscape here. And by changing to light mode, we have this daytime mountain landscape. That's interesting. All right. Okay, so in general, I prefer dark mode. Dark mode always looks very neat on most systems. Should we continue having a look in the light mode? Probably, because that's the standard theme, and for an OS review we should stick with the standards. All right, So we can speed up the virtual machine. Oh, Zorin OS has detected that you're using a virtual machine. How did it do that? To improve performance, install the extensions for your virtualization software and restart the system. Yeah. Okay, connect your online accounts. We can sync Google and all of that stuff and Microsoft accounts. I think it even has Google Drive or Microsoft Drive. What is it called? OneDrive support built in. And we can link our phones and computers with Zorin Connect. Integrate your devices to sync notifications, reply to messages on the desktop, share files, use your phone as a remote control for your computer and more. Okay, that's nice. So basically, my first impression is Zorin OS is a simple Linux-based system. So far, I really can't tell a big difference to Ubuntu or Linux Mint. It just looks nice and provides a couple of layouts that we can modify ourselves. And it comes with a lot of software built in, which is nice. Okay, and that's the case for Zorin OS Pro. If you get the standard core variant, then it comes without built-in software or just with the essentials, and you can install all of it yourself, but it doesn't make a difference. All right, we have a software library that we can use to download and install apps. That's good. Let's open that, and that's already it. This looks like Microsoft App Store or Windows App Store. We have a couple of work apps. Let's have a look what's available here. Wow, that loads with incredible speed. And then, oh, there's a secrets app to manage passwords. Nice. Deja Dub backups for backups. Apostrophe, edit markdown in style. Okay, so this is a software center basically. And oh, here we can have a nice overview of the installed software that's already on the system, if it was not that slow. By the way, I have allocated 6 CPU cores and I think 8 gigabytes of RAM to this virtual machine, but still it's not so fast. I had a different impression when running Linux Mint or Ubuntu, so it seems, I might be wrong, but it seems like Zorin OS is a hint slower. We have okay, forget about it. Probably it's just my local environment. All right, so what's the first thing that you're going to do on a Linux-based OS? Well, an everyday user coming from Linux or coming from Windows or Mac OS is probably he's going to open the browser. Let's see. We have the Brave browser available. And we can skip this setup here. Next. So this is the web browser available. And I think I'm going to restart that machine. Wait, power of the machine. All right, now it's restarting. I'm restarting it because it previously hinted at me that a restart might be necessary to speed it up. Let's see if that helps. Zorin. By the way, Zorin sounds very, very Russian to me. I feel like pronouncing it like Zorin OS is wrong. It should actually be Zorin OS. Zorin. That sounds This is not a joke. This sounds honestly way more correct to me than Zorin. Zorin. But can you please be faster? Oh, okay. Now it's working. Let me log in and see. Does it update the screen size after logging in? Yes, it does. Okay. Now, what I want to do is try the web browser. Let's see if it loads faster now after the restart. Wait, I have to check the preferences here. Machine, settings. As you can see, I have allocated 11 gigabytes of RAM. I have allocated 6 processor cores, put the execution cap at 100%. So I would expect it to be a bit more responsive. Okay. So let's go to duckduckgo.com. Let's see. All right. So it's a browser. Can we go to my YouTube channel, youtube.com/@HirschDaniel. Let's see if it works. And there we go. Here's my YouTube channel. Okay, so it opens. It opens after some time. Could be faster, could be way faster, honestly. I don't know if it's the Zorin OS itself or my machine, but actually on the rest of my machine is completely responsive. Okay, let's check out the terminal. That's probably the most interesting aspect for Linux users. This terminal looks very much like the terminal on macOS. Let's see, can I use Tmux? Tmux is not installed. Okay, so now we have the opportunity to install something. What about Vim? Vim is not even installed. That's interesting. What about less? Less is installed. Okay, so let's do sudo. Well, let's have a look at the operating system. Cat etc and then OS release. The OS release is called Zorin OS 18. Version codename Noble. ID like Ubuntu Debian. Yeah, okay. So probably we can expect here a Ubuntu-like system. Ubuntu Debian. So everything that you know about Ubuntu will probably also apply here. So you can install packages using sudo apt install. Sudo apt install tmux, for example. Enter the sudo password. Let's see. All of this is quite responsive and works fine. Now, yeah, we can enter tmux. Sudo apt install vim. That works. Can I change the terminal to dark mode? Because terminal in light mode is horrible. Preferences. Theme variant, dark. Okay. So this is a dark mode terminal in a light mode, rest of the OS. Maybe I should adapt all of it. Even though I wanted to stay with the standard setup for Zorin OS. But okay. Display settings. No, where did I? There's the appearance tab. Zorin appearance. Oh, and we can even select different backgrounds there. Wait. What else can we set here? We can set dark mode. Yeah, that looks just much better. Effects, enable animations. Let me just turn that off. Maybe that's faster. Yeah, that's better, way better. Then adjustment. What is adjustment? Zoom. I don't care about that. We can have icons on the desktop. New window placement centered. That's fine. Okay. Fonts. Interface text. Regular. Oh, and those are the fonts that we have available. Yeah, a lot of stuff that we can use to customize. And oh, that's actually quite nice. We have a lot of nice fonts pre-installed. We have JetBrains fonts pre-installed. So it seems like a lot of stuff, a lot of focus in Zorin OS is appearance. A lot of Noto fonts. I have never heard about them, but it looks like they are known in the font community because there are just so many of them. Yeah, that's nice. Well, way better than the pre-installed fonts on Windows. Blockhouse 96 and all those weird fonts that you're never going to use ever. All right, layout. What about? Okay, let's do a Mac-ish layout for the Mac users. Okay, so now this is now my appearance, Zorin OS appearance, and let's pick this background. Oh no, this is way too flashy. Let's pick okay, the mountain background is fine. The mountain background is fine. Okay, now we have a terminal in Zorin OS. We have installed Tmux. We can open Vim. We can type stuff, and maybe from a developer's perspective, let's just do one thing. Let's code a hello world and see how much we have to do to compile it. Int main, and then printf hello world. Hello.c. So that's now saved. And let's see if we have a compiler pre-installed. That's also interesting because on most Linux systems, you have a compiler pre-installed, but on Zorin OS, the focus is on Mac OS users and Windows users, and they usually don't use compilers. So let's see if we can compile code right away. GCC is not found. We don't have a compiler. How about CC? CC is not found. We don't have a compiler, guys. Do we have Python? Python is not installed. Okay, so this is not a developer system. I had to manually install Vim. I had to manually install Tmux. What about Nano? Okay, Nano is always there. Okay, fine. But we even have to sudo apt install GCC. That's crazy. I would have totally expected that there's GCC on the system. But, okay, this is not an OS tailored for developers, coders, and for pros like you. And this is an OS that is probably very neat to switch to from Windows or Mac OS. All right, let's see. Let's compile hello.c. It's compiled and let's execute it. Okay, and we have a working hello world. That's fine. But we had to install the compiler. But what did I expect? What did I expect? I expected nothing, actually. Here we can open a new terminal. Okay. Okay, let's close the terminal. Forget about coding here. If you're a coder, you are able to install your stuff anyway, so that's not a critical issue. What I'm interested in is now in the Microsoft Office compliant or compatible applications. So what does Zorin OS offer here? That's, by the way, the file system which I just accidentally opened. There's our hello.c that we just created. It looks identical to the one on Ubuntu or Mint. I don't see a big difference. All right. Where's the rest of the applications? And that's already the problem I have with Mac OS style OSs. It's that I can never find my applications here. So where are they? I can switch desktops here. Okay, so I can manage multiple desktops with multiple desktop icons probably. Oh, there are my applications. Can I put an application on the desktop? Let's see. What about Blender? Can I just drag and drop it? No. Oh, Blender's, by the way, for 3D modeling, animation and rendering and post-production, which I'm not going to do, but this is a very well-known software. I didn't know this is just openly available with an OS, or that this is just something that you can download for free, just like so. Okay, so we have Blender here. Awesome. I can even pull it and drag and drop it on the desktop. No, I can't drag and drop it on the desktop. I have to right-click and then add to desktop. So we have Blender. We have GIMP. Let's add that to the desktop. Let's add this critter thing to the desktop. I'm just establishing a desktop here. Then, and that's the funny part. Let me open my browser. So this is what they advertise on Zorin OS. This right here is that's, by the way, the browser on my Windows system. That's why it's so responsive. They advertise, make your computer better. Zorin OS is the alternative to Windows and Mac OS, designed to make your computer faster, more powerful, secure, and privacy respecting. And the main selling point is basically a familiar desktop you already know how to use. Okay? And then somewhere they advertise Office. Here. Your documents, music, photos, and videos just work. Zorin OS comes pre-installed with the LibreOffice suite, which lets you view, create, and edit Microsoft Office 365 documents. Yeah, if you've done that before, especially if you're a student or at university and someone says or asks you to edit a Microsoft Word document and you do it with LibreOffice and return the result to another person using Word, then you're done. The file will look completely like trash. It will be a trash result usually. At least it was the case in the past, so I always defaulted to Microsoft Office 365. Of course, this subscription scheme for Microsoft Office 365 is totally stupid, but there are... No, I won't say a thing now. LibreOffice is by the way completely fine, as long as you don't have to exchange files with Windows or Microsoft Office users too much. But if you work in a company with developers, then why not? You can create LibreOffice stuff, of course. From the philosophy perspective, an open source office, LibreOffice, is of course always the better choice as compared to Microsoft spyware stuff. Okay, let's open the writer, LibreOffice Writer, and let's write something. So this looks just like, well, looks like Microsoft Office, but is LibreOffice. Wow. And I find it interesting that they make this a selling point for the OS, but the OS maintainers or the OS creators, they don't even contribute anything to LibreOffice. It's not their product. This is an open source project. that they just pull into their operating system and just install by default, and then they advertise their operating system based on the software they include. You know, actually, an operating system should be, advertising an operating system by the software it comes with is a bit paradoxical, because it's like advertising, I don't know, advertising a fridge with the food that you can put into it. It's just a different layer of it's just something different. You use the fridge, or how do you advertise a fridge? You advertise a fridge by saying our fridge is it's lightweight. Yeah. Our fridge saves energy. It has intelligent energy management. At night, it tends to turn off sometimes for economic modes or something like that. That's how you advertise a fridge. Or maybe the fridge just looks nice, okay? And that's how operating system creators should advertise their operating system. Please feel free to say Zorin OS looks like Windows, and it just looks super nice. Or you can configure it to look like macOS. But don't advertise Zorin OS comes with LibreOffice. It's not something that you have put any effort into, except integrating it into shipping it with the operating system. Anyways, okay. So here's some applications that we just put on the desktop. That's nice. And here we can even switch desktops. I'm not sure what the switching of desktops even does, because if I click on the other desktop, I still see my applications on the desktop. Okay. I don't know if this is even intended. Okay, so what's another thing that we can look at? We have some default applications installed here. Disk usage analyzer, something for listening to different sounds. Yeah, basically wait. Before we just inspect all the applications that come with Zorin OS, which is totally the wrong way of looking at it, just like you don't evaluate a fridge by the food that is inside it, except if you buy a fridge and it really comes with food inside, then probably you would be happy about having nice food inside, and you don't have, and not about it being filled with trash and you have to throw it all out. So as long as the food inside is good when you get it shipped, it's fine. Yeah. I would say oh, this is interesting. I can hear sounds now in my headphones. Oh, this is quite nice for working. Let me just enable sound for you to hear as well. Yeah, you will probably hear interrupted sounds because of my system performance right now. But I think this is usually a very nice application if you use it for work and if you have it installed on a machine and not inside a virtual machine. All right, you have parental controls, passwords and keys. Oh, that's nice. A Pomodoro timer. Is that a Pomodoro timer? Oh, that's perfect. I always wished for a Pomodoro timer at work. I always, for work, use a Pomodoro timer. I just set it to 1 hour usually. It's basically a timer. And during that time, you really focus on working. And once the bell rings, you can stop working and have a short break, and then you continue working. This is something that on my Windows system, somehow I have a timer, but it's weird because there I start the timer and then when it's over, I don't hear a sound. There's no sound playing when the time is up. So it's completely pointless. I always have to go to some website and run the timer there. But of course, this is still just software installed and shipped with the operating system. It's not the operating system itself. So here's my conclusion. Zorin OS comes with lots of useful software that completely suits everybody's needs when it comes to office work, creating documents, editing images, creating 3D stuff, Blender, all the maintenance stuff you'd need for an operating system, the disk usage analyzer, even CAD software. There's LibreOffice, there's a password manager. So basically you really have everything that you need on Zorin OS. This is super nice. So it's a system that you can just install and it works right away. I completely agree with that. You even have OBS. That's the software I use for recording videos. Yeah, okay. So you have everything you need for doing office level work. But under the hood, Zorin OS is a Ubuntu system. That means that the terminal behaves exactly the same as Ubuntu. Okay, so then why should you use Zorin? Why should you ever use Ubuntu over Zorin OS? Well, Zorin OS seems to be stripped of some things that you use as a developer. I don't even know if Ubuntu ships with all of those by default. But we had, when we wanted to set up our small little C code in the terminal, let me just reopen that here in the terminal, and we have created this small hello world just a couple of minutes ago. How can I zoom inside? How can I just... forget about it. So when it comes to coding, you have to install all the packages manually. They are not pre-installed. So Zorin OS is an OS that is targeted at people who want to do classic, traditional office jobs on their computer. And if you want to write code in Zorin OS, you have to set up your stuff manually. That's not a big problem. If you are a coder, then you can just sudo apt install GCC, and you can just sudo apt install Vim and Python and your IDEs and whatever you need. That's not a problem. Okay, so that's actually it's completely fine. I mean, Zorin OS is not targeted at developers, so don't include the developer stuff. Fine. Zorin OS seems to be a Ubuntu-based OS that has a lot of useful office software pre-installed. And it has several layouts pre-installed that just make the system look good. I feel like Zorin OS just looks nice. It looks way more modern than any Ubuntu or Linux Mint install. I feel like when I install Linux Mint, or well, actually most Linux OSs, they just look outdated. And this one looks modern. So what's the deal? What's the deal with Zorin OS? If you use Zorin OS, or if you... Well, how should I put it? What I don't like about Zorin OS is that I think the Zorin OS guys, they try to sell a system because officially here Zorin OS Pro, which comes with all the pre-installed software, costs money. Here, it's 48 euros, so that's maybe $50. And that's basically the big advantage of Zorin OS. It already has all this stuff installed. If you don't want to pay money, then you can get Zorin OS Core. Wait, where is it? Then you can get Zorin OS. There's some base variants. Zorin OS Core, which is free. But there you have to install all the stuff yourself. by yourself. Yeah, so there's Zorin OS Pro. It comes with the layouts. It comes with all the software. I find this product is a bit over marketed. I mean, it's nice, but they just claim they have $5,000 worth of professional software. How do they measure this? They only ship open source software. They probably picked the most expensive variant of Microsoft Office, then the most expensive software. Well, maybe Photoshop, which used to cost over $1,000, and they replaced it with GIMP, and that's already $1,000. And then Blender, and they compared it with some other 3D software. I feel like this is a bit salesy. This is just an OS, and it comes with pre-installed stuff. $50. You can do it, okay, fine. If you don't want to pay money, then you can get Core for basic use. It comes without the pre-installed stuff, without the pre-installed layouts. I don't like that. I just think then you can just use the Ubuntu. But it seems that it has at least this Windows style layout, which is already nice. But I feel like, why don't you just include all of that stuff for free? And then sell something else, sell support or whatever. But okay, I'm not that company. They can do whatever they want. Then there's Zorin OS 18 Education, and it comes with educational software for students, for schools and students. And this is also for free, which is nice. And they have this, what do they even ship here? Minecraft? No. They ship some messaging software, it seems. What do they ship? Is there a list? I have no idea. Okay, and they always prompt you to sign up for newsletters if you want to download it, or you can skip to the download, of course. Okay, forget about it. So it seems like the Zorin OS guys want to make money. It's clear, of course. If I produced an OS, I would make money as well with it. I feel like though with some modifications and all of that stuff, well, you pay money for something that you could also get for free. It's just an OS with pre-installed stuff. Is it really so great for Windows users? I don't think so. This is extremely different from Windows. I think, honestly, LibreOffice is very, very different from Microsoft Office. And I think the way the system works is still Linux. There's no difference here. This is Linux. I can't just... Well... Yeah, what's that? GIMP.desktop. Windows doesn't have .desktop files. So it's still a Linux system, and someone switching from Windows would probably have all the difficulties they would have with any other Linux system, Linux distribution. Maybe not the same difficulties that they would have with Arch or Gentoo Linux, but still there's this terminal. If something doesn't work, you need to use the terminal. And I think as soon as you have to install your own stuff, you are exposed to Linux. What is... Wait, do they have this the software to run Windows applications? That would actually be quite useful. I think it's called Vine or something. No. I don't think that they have it. There's some software that you can use to run native Windows exe files. Yeah. Okay. All right, that's it. I don't want to talk much longer. This is essentially a Linux-based OS. This is essentially Linux with some layouts and some pre-installed software. That's it. Do you need it? I don't know. Is it? And one last comment. I found there is a huge trend here. Wait. Let me open Google Trends. Zorin OS. Switzerland. No, worldwide. Zorin OS, last 5 years. Can you see this spike here? There's a huge trend for the Zorin OS. That means the search volume on Google has increased sharply. Is it worth the hype, or does it stand a chance against other Linux distributions? Not really. To me, it's exactly the same. It just looks nice. It's exactly the same as any other Linux operating system with some beautifications. You decide for yourself. Put it in the comments. Put your thoughts in the comments, and also your anything that I missed maybe about Zorin OS. Is my opinion maybe wrong? Did I misunderstand something about Zorin OS's philosophy? Or am I completely wrong with something? Please put your opinion in the comment. And if you think that Zorin OS is not the best operating system for switching to from Windows or Mac OS, then please put your recommendation for a Linux-based distribution in the comments, such that everybody who watches this video can see which Linux distribution is actually the best one for switching to and for properly setting yourself up for a freedom-based operating system that you can rely on. All right, see you next time, and bye.